Hello, this is Gideon Emery, aka Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, telling you you're listening to the Raw Dogs podcast. And from this leading man, may you be the leading man in your own lives. Tune in, enjoy, farewell.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs, number 101. It continues on. This party doesn't stop.
No, it does not.
Now, the first 100 are going to be known as the Glory Days, and this is where the next season we're going to go off the rails. And
We're going to adopt a child.
we're going to adopt a child. Danny DeVito joins this season. We're very excited about that. We're going to adopt a child. Meet our new 5-year-old co-host.
Well,
She's a reincarnated Madam Web.
It's like the Brady Bunch. Do you remember that?
Oliver, cousin Oliver.
Yeah.
You know, neither of us are old enough to have watched the Brady Bunch when it was live on TV, like new. But I have a feeling we probably both watched a bunch of it.
Okay. Well, whatever.
We're not talking about the Brady Bunch today. My name is Brad, and I'm excited to talk about our game today.
Yes, me too. I'm Dylan. And I am here to have some controversial opinions, apparently.
I don't think so. I
You don't think it's going to be that controversial?
No, I think that you and I are two sides of the same coin. I think we have probably pretty similar opinions, but I lean one way and you lean the other way. I think we both agree there's a lot of problems with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but overall, it is one of my favorite games I've played in recent memory.
Truly, I was so impressed with this. I was expecting something about the scope of Remake, and this completely blew it out of the water.
Big time.
It's almost like I could never play Remake again.
I totally could, and I actually wanted to go back in to see how much different I think the combat is a continuation, but I did want to go back in and just feel how the chapters flow. We'll get into all of that. But yeah, I guess we can talk about, let's talk about Remake a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Remake, people were clamoring for Final Fantasy VII Remake for a long time since they had like that technical demo back for the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And it's, I think remakes are usually kind of boring. Remasters are generally disappointing. Even when it's a nice remaster like Link's Awakening for the Switch.
Oh, that's not a remaster. That's a remake.
It's the same game.
Well,
I think they call it a remaster, but
it was built from the ground up, though, because it has you can move diagonally.
Yeah. But I think generally, if you're just given the same game again and it's just prettier, mostly you're just scratching a nostalgia itch, and it's something to go back to these PlayStation 1 RPGs where the combat is, the traditional RPG, turn-based.
Yeah.
And going from that into a modern setting, it was like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Essentially.
And you and I have talked about this before, about how Remake isn't a remake, it's a sequel.
It is a veiled sequel, yeah.
The name is, I don't like, but we can start using the elephant in the room. We can start saying Nomura, Tetsuya Nomura.
Yeah.
Honestly, Remake...
Mr. Kingdom Hearts himself.
Remake as a title, I think, is pretty subdued. The name, like the subtitle, compared to where he could go 358 over 2 days.
Yeah, but I think he also knew to rein it in, because this wasn't really his baby.
Yeah. Well, it's there's a lot of other creators that are much higher than him. He was involved back in the day with like character design.
Yeah. Some story elements.
He definitely got a bigger position here. You have Yoshinori Kitase. He's still involved. And Kazushige Nojima, he's a big name. Mm-hmm. He did story and scenario. So he's been involved in crafting the stories for Final Fantasy games 7, 8, 10, 10, 2. He wrote
10 2.
He wrote the
really. Why? That doesn't explain 10-2 at all.
Well, dude, I watched a bunch of making of videos the other week, and Nojima is that guy. He kind of looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. He just always sits back. He's like wearing shorts. He has long hair. And the other guy's talking. He's just like, cool, man. Yeah, whatever he's saying, sure. But he's also decides Tidus will get his head blown off in a novel official canon sequel to FF10. What I'm trying to say is he has always been out there story wise.
Yeah,
I think he's a little bit like in George Lucas in a sense, that better with an editor, better when someone's reining him in, perhaps. But yeah, Nomura got a primary control.
Well, you can just tell he wasn't involved in 9 because 9 is one of the easiest plots to understand.
And it's nice. 9 is very nice.
9 is getting remade as well.
And it's going to be it's from what I've heard, it's going to be available on the Switch. So
Switch 2, right?
So what happened in Final Fantasy VII Remake is the Whispers. What are the Whispers, Dylan?
The Whispers are a force of nature and fate that intervene to keep things on the correct path. Kind of something that you don't think would be necessary if things were going correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time you see the Whispers is when you run into Aerith in Midgar.
Yep.
And
or very early.
They're swarming her.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
I want to say it's right after the Airbuster before you get back to Seventh Heaven.
And I would say that everything kind of diverges right before you beat the boss in the Sector 7 reactor.
So when you say Aerith, I'm going to rename that character to Ultimate Aerith. Or,
sure. So you're going to call that Ultimate Aerith.
Because she is from
another world.
She has knowledge she shouldn't have. She knows what's going on. The Whispers, Arbiters of Fate. There's only one variant in Remake, and that is just the classic, like, kind of gray Whisper.
Yeah.
And their main purpose is to direct the story into what is supposed to happen in the first game. So it is both a meta commentary on expectations and what people want to happen, and also their like desires to break free and do something new. I think it's
very Kojima.
I think it's very Kojima. I think it's very smart. I think it's they somehow took what could have been a very like boring and predictable remake and they made it something new, and for the most part it didn't bother me. These games, though, the last hour, they're like, you know that ass? We're going all the way up it right now.
Yeah. That may have been my biggest problem, is that these things aren't plotted in very well, and they don't seem to really have... The story does kind of go exactly as it goes, but everything is more fleshed out, like the time that Cloud spends in Midgar, and all the activities you do on the side, like being a merc, which becomes like the most important thing for a little while.
Mostly good.
Yeah. And I didn't mind necessarily that Midgar was being fleshed out. I thought that was interesting. It's nice to see their daily lives so that when something bad happens, inevitably, which maybe you might not have thought that it would if you saw those Whispers rolling in.
Yeah. I was very worried right when it started and Sephiroth showed up. And I'm like, oh, okay. Are we going to get Sephiroth just like... They just know that if they hold a pretty shiny object in front of you, you're going to be clapping seal, happy little baby.
Well, I was worried that they were going to overuse the trope of Cloud going like, oh, my head, and then like seeing Sephiroth everywhere. They actually used it pretty sparingly in Remake.
Rebirth, they ramp it up.
Oh,
and
it's a little much at times.
I don't think it's much what happens to Cloud in Rebirth. I think it's too much that the party doesn't respond to Cloud's craziness in Rebirth enough. The moment I see you like get a crazy look in your eyes and go to grab an atomic bomb,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, maybe we should have an intervention.
Or when if I try to slash open your belly and you fall into a big reactor and almost drown.
And thank you for making me Tifa and you Cloud in this scenario. Yeah. Remake though, largely loved it. I didn't like the ending. When you're fighting like the three
Fate
versions
itself.
of Kadaj, Yaz, and Lazu arbiters. Because they go into the world beyond, which is the world of life stream.
Be careful, everyone. We did not describe this as a lore bukkake at the beginning, but it is.
It is going to be a little bit.
It's going to be extremely that.
And spoilers for everything. So yes, the Midgar represented here in the singularity that we go into at the end of Remake is not the same Midgar that the game takes place in. That's why you brought up in a text, like, didn't the tower fall down? Mm-hmm. And I had to look it up because no, we were in a singularity apparently. But we fight the Whispers. Sephiroth is defeated and he bursts into more Whispers. And then Sephiroth takes Cloud to the edge of creation and he says 7 seconds before the world's end. And he asks Cloud in Defying Destiny, yes, having destroyed the Whispers in the singularity, apparently it's open new worlds. Anything is possible. There's a bunch of language like that. Okay.
Which is very interesting.
I get that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yep. Because now the game, oh man, I didn't want a single Whisper to show up again. All they had to do then is you just
a new thing.
You just play. You can have the story be subtly different or big divergences.
I thought we destroyed the leader of the Whispers.
The Harbinger or whatever it is.
I guess Harbinger means kind of like a messenger, but
I think that's what it was called, the Harbinger.
But when I defeated that character, I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, okay, well, this is kind of interesting for the first one. Now the game can be different.
No more Whispers. It'll be perfect. It'll be great.
Yeah. But
yes.
Much to our surprise. Not my surprise.
And another thing that there's a character that for some reason is much beloved by everybody who I've never.
It's not Chadley, is it?
Well, he's hated by everyone except me. I am a Chadley stan.
Is it because your names rhyme?
What is the honorific that you'd say to someone you have great honor and respect for?
San or Sama?
Yeah, Chadley Sama is what I would call him.
Okay.
He is the man.
God, I'm such a weeaboo.
I've been reading Shogun after watching the show, and I've learned a lot about samurai culture.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's also much every day. Someone's like, can I just please kill myself about this? I have so much shame.
Do you worship him as a lord?
I worship Chadley. Yeah, he's my liege lord. I would.
So it'd be Chadley Domo.
Chadley Domo and Roche Domo would also get in there.
Yeah, Roche, our boy. My favorite part.
Hi, friend. Wow.
My favorite fucking part of that first game was having that interlude.
Yeah, you know that they're setting up Roche as the big bad for part 3.
That's not true.
No, but they're building him up to something.
You actually just kill him.
He's got Sephiroth genes, dude. He's coming back in a big way.
I think he's a hood now.
Well, yeah, but he's like a new kind of hood. He's a accelerated degeneration hood.
Oh. Man, they got to stop toying with that bullshit. I thought that ending of him just becoming a black hood would have been fine. I should have played a little bit.
Well,
to have
he gets his little like gray hair streak, but
oh, great.
Yes, one thing though, there's a character that is much beloved that I don't understand the affection for, and that's Zack Fair.
Okay,
Zack is Cloud with a palette swap, and everyone's like, "Dude, Zack's been my favorite character in RPGs ever."
So
I don't get it. If you love Zack, please write in and tell me about it because I don't get it. I played Crisis Core. I love it. I don't get it.
You played Crisis Core?
On the PSP.
Really? Okay. So
yeah.
I don't quite understand. I think people like him. He does get a character. He is technically fleshed out, but he kind of reads as a standard shonen character, kind of like, I'll save the day. I'm positive. Like
I'm a little more funny.
Hopelessly optimistic, kind of like a bit of an idiot.
Yeah,
about it too.
I see the archetype you're describing.
It's just a little tiring.
I mean, in the original game, you probably never even saw him unless you got the optional flashback in Shinra Manor. But yeah, people love Zack, and I've never got it. But luckily, I don't ever have to see him again.
I get what's interesting about him, and I think my biggest problem in general with the idea of Zack existing is that all of the interconnected characters know too much about the situations that they were all going through interconnectedly, that Tifa never stops to actually say, like, hey, Cloud, you weren't there.
They bring it up a little bit in Rebirth. They dance around the topic.
But why would Tifa dance around it? She'd be like, you weren't there.
Well, and then Cloud counters back right away in Nibelheim. He's like, yeah, you're dead. Like, how are you still here? I saw Sephiroth kill you. And that's when she pulls up her shirt to show the scar.
Yeah, but then everyone else would be like questioning, hey guys, this is all really fucked up. Can we like solve this mystery first?
And you know,
that's how humans interact.
They talk about it. Yeah.
They talk about it, but then they're just like, but we got to keep going, guys. Come on. Okay.
Yeah. Zack's still alive.
Zack
is now
revealed
alive.
To be now alive, or he was always alive in another universe.
Yes, we're in multiverse now, but the multiverse has been opened by defeating the Harbinger, and now anything is possible. Now it's like there's branches.
Yeah.
This is represented by Zack's last stand, him surviving in a new version of Stamp. I forget if it's a beagle or a pug. I think the beagle's the main one, but yes. Intermission.
I think it is the beagle.
Intermission, intergrade, Nomura-fication.
Yep.
Yes. Yuffie and Sonon search for materia during the events of FF7 Remake. They go underground to secret labs, fight Scarlet, and encounter Nero the Sable from Dirge of Cerberus.
Great.
I'm into it, dude.
How can you be?
I was reading, I was on Reddit today, and someone described Dirge of Cerberus as a trasher piece, and I'm like, yeah.
No, it's not.
Dude, it's so bad. But I love train wrecks. I love seeing how stupid something can be. And if it scratches just that itch of like, wow, this is some stupid shit.
Well, the worst part about it is the story. Everything else, the gunplay is kind of dumb and stupid, but
acceptable for a PS2 game. It's acceptable.
I played through half of it.
Yeah.
And I was at a buddy's house and I was just like, okay, I think I'm done now. I don't need to see any more of this.
Oh yeah. And
because it takes place after Advent Children.
Yeah, I think you're right. But there's one good sequence at the end when they have to break into Midgard. That's the only good thing in the game.
Yeah, and Cloud shows up on his Fenrir bike.
But they're acknowledging it. Rebirth and Remake, everything from Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, Ever Crisis, all of those are being woven into it. When Glenn Lodblock shows up and it's a reveal, and I'm like, okay.
Who's that guy?
That's what I said. We have talked about Final Fantasy VII for 15 hours podcasting.
I know.
And I didn't know who that was.
My whole entire thing with this, and maybe the biggest problem I had with this like remake trilogy so far, is that they had a perfect chance to wipe things clean. They could have made it a very succinct, tellable story, even with the weird time travel-y whisper stuff. That would be all right. I think that they totally dropped the ball on the idea that they could have cleaned this up. Why? I don't understand. I don't think it's artistic to just throw all this shit in there, and I don't think it works on most occasions.
What are you talking about? Like shit specifically? You're talking about like the extended universe? Or you're talking about like just throwing
the
in
extended universe? I don't see the value. You can pull in Crisis Core.
That Crisis Core is the one where I'm like, okay,
that's fine.
And if you want to bring in, you could have him be a new character. Even like there's a Turk that is in fucking Ever Crisis or whatever it is.
Right.
And if they just have her be like a new Turk, even don't make it seem like you should know who this is. Just have it be a new character. Yeah. But when they have the Glenn Lodblock, like, boom, big reveal, I'm like...
My wife literally said, who's that? I said, his name's Glenn.
That's Glenn.
That's Glenn. That's Glenn Jordan.
Oh, you don't know Glenn?
Glenn, you know the guy on the poster?
Yeah, you're good. Dylan, don't worry. I did research Glenn.
Oh, God damn it.
Okay, so remake, though, much acclaimed. People loved it.
Yeah.
Development for Rebirth began around November 2019 following the completion of Remake. Like we said, Nomura is a co-director and creative director, co-director of Motomo Toriyama, lots of FF13 and 7. We mentioned Kazushige Nojima. Music is completely based on... not completely. It's largely based on the original soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu.
There are some originals in there, right?
There's tons of originals though too, but most of the bangers, 90% of the songs that you hear and you're like, fuck, they're going to be super intense, awesome new variations of Uematsu's work, which I think helps out a lot. But the other two composers, we have Masashi Hamauzu from Wild Hearts, Romancing Saga, FF13, Dirge of Cerberus 10, and others, and Mitsudo Suzuki from FF7 Remake, 13, 13-2, and The World Ends With You. All I'm saying is if you give me a guitar and I can play the Aerith theme...
Really? The World Ends With You?
Yeah.
That actually has a soundtrack that a lot of people like that I absolutely hated.
Oh, really?
I hated the soundtrack.
Well, and it makes me want to go back and like check out 13 because I've also heard there's a lot of FF13 in FF7 Remake and Rebirth.
A ton.
And I'm wondering how much like nostalgia glasses helps.
I would say that all the songs that kind of have that weird like cyber kind of synthy,
which there's a lot of
beeps
them.
and boops,
Yep.
yeah, those are all basically Final Fantasy 13.
Okay. So that must be largely Mitsudo Suzuki.
Probably.
Yeah, I like it though, dude. When the music goes like extra weird or like extra cracked out bonkers.
Yep.
Give me weird reggae, give me intense techno, give me poppy pop music. Like I'm into all that shit.
I'm always good with different types of music as long as they hit the tone of what's being portrayed on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Art director Shintaro Takai. Battle director Teruki Endo, who also did Remake.
Shintaro Takai did a great job on this game. Shout out.
Mad shout out. The art is across the board phenomenal. I can't think of one enemy design, one like level, one thing.
Everything feels like it's living in this world. Even the Moogle stuff, for some reason, you can believe it. You're just like, okay, well, yeah.
Moogles are here.
Moogles are here now. That's great.
Yeah. To take all of the original enemy designs and somehow make them like fun and believable in this world.
And they have to walk around and act like animals out in the wild.
I think if you were to do a very big deep dive into like every single enemy that gets a new version, like a upgrade, all of their attacks and different moves that they do are also adapted to be a 3D different kind of version of it,
which is astonishing.
It is astonishing.
It's kind of the best part about this game.
It's weird how many times you're expecting this little thing to happen, like when you're going across the railroad tracks, and you're like, I remember that a little bird scene. I bet there'll be some with a little bird. I'm like, oh yeah, there's tons of little bird stuff.
Oh yeah,
like everything, even like the center of Calm, there's like that giant center like generator engine thing right in the center of town. There's a windmill. Everything that was just like a tiny little thing in the original game gets a nice big upgrade here. Battle director Teruki Endo, who did Remake, Resident Evil 5, and lots of Monster Hunters.
It shows.
Yeah, I haven't really played a Monster Hunter game myself. I've played some of the demos, but I can feel like the open world and the exploration.
When you're facing a larger enemy it might as well be a Monster Hunter fight.
Yeah.
Like just plain and simple. It's a lot of staggering the monsters. It's about working as a team.
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, you can control all of them instead of having to find someone online to help you out.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 5 is where I kind of fall off. That's kind of a different one.
Yeah.
He obviously has a bit more to his resume than...
Yeah, those are the ones that jumped out at me.
Resident Evil 5 doesn't really have battles, but it's fine.
June 9th, 2023, the trailer was unveiled showing some exploration, combat mechanics, story elements, and characters.
Do you remember when this came out? It was during the Tokyo Game Show?
I want to say that I didn't watch any of the trailers.
I watched that first one just to be like, what's going to go on?
Yeah.
But mostly it was a song performance. Was it that one?
The Aerith song?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever.
You gotta have a theme song. And that's just... honestly, that's just because Uematsu's like, I'll come back, but I get to do whatever the fuck I want, and I just want to write a song to be sung by a big, powerful woman.
He loves his ballads.
He does. And I know his health isn't great right now. He hasn't been... It hasn't been good for a while. He doesn't travel anymore.
He's very much an old man.
September 14th of last year, there was a trailer with the release date. This game was released February 28th of this year, 2024.
Leap day.
On a leap day. Or maybe it was 29th.
It was the 29th.
29th. It was a leap day. Yep. Timed console exclusive for at least 3 months. We're going to just jump out of the order of my outline here because recently Square Enix it's been revealed they've lost a lot of money on this game.
Yes, they did.
And they're pivoting to aggressively be multi-platform going forward.
I'm going to expect to see this on an Xbox pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
The hardware is very similar in effect. It'll probably be slightly graphically less powerful, but everything else is going to essentially be the same. I mean, the controllers, the only difference is like haptic feedback, which does play into this.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to find new ways to kind of work around that.
I think there's nothing in the game that couldn't be quickly changed.
Yeah. Some of those mini games, I don't know though. That seems like a lot of programming work. Do you do like light indicators or something like that? That's my...
Well, I'm trying to think about what mini games actually require haptic feedback. Mushrooms?
The mushrooms.
Tifa's sit-ups.
Tifa's sit-ups definitely does. God, I haven't played this in months.
There's some. I think that wouldn't be a big issue though.
Opening doors, stuff like that. I don't know. That to me, there's a lot of elements that are greatly enhanced by the PlayStation 5 controller.
Before you start the game though, there's 3 different difficulty settings. I forget what you said you played on.
Normal.
So there's easy, which is just like you're not going to be challenged. There's normal, which is...
What, you think I'd play on easy?
No, I'm not saying you wouldn't. I was also thinking dynamic because I played on dynamic.
You played on dynamic the first time?
Yeah, I much prefer... I think it says dynamic is recommended or enemies scale with you. I always have conflicting feelings on difficulties. I've been playing Ayuden Chronicle, and I was sitting and looking at the screen for a minute. I'm like, normal or hard? Some games, hard is the only way to play if you want to have any gameplay or challenge, and sometimes it's just cranking enemies' HP, which is not increasing difficulty. It's just wasting more of my time.
I kind of go the route of I think normal is what the developer wants to present, but that's not always true. It depends on the philosophies of the developer. I don't know. I always go normal first.
I want a real expectation when it shows the difficulty screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But dynamic scales enemies with you, which is actually really good if you intend on doing a lot of side quests, because then if you get higher leveled or you want to skip side quests and be lower leveled, that way you can still progress the game without being penalized for doing or not doing them, which I do appreciate because side quests is a lot of the game. There are some unlockables you could bring into Rebirth. If you played Remake, you will get the Leviathan materia. If you did Intermission, you'll get Ramu. If you did the Rebirth demo, You get the Kupo Charm survival set, and you can skip chapter 1. And the collector's edition has 2 unique summons for the $150 version of the game.
Yeah.
You get the Moogle Trio and Magic Pot summons.
Whatever.
Which, well, I hate that the fact that we don't get to see those summons outside of YouTube unless you...
It's so... the fact that even like you would lock Ramu is really silly and stupid.
Yeah. I mean...
I was expecting to find him in the game, and I'm like, oh man, but I love Ramu.
I also like though that you find new materia.
Yeah, and usually I got Leviathan. I also got the Kupo Charm, the survival set, whatever, and I can skip Nibelheim. Yeah, but then I already did it.
You know, I avoided the demo because I figured I'd play the game anyways, and the demo was just chapter 1, which is all flashback. Which, what beer are we drinking today, right now, Dylan?
We're drinking a beer called Mountains Calling Home, a hazy India pale ale from Brewer's Kitchen. I picked this out at random because it fits the theme.
Mountains Calling Home.
Nibelheim, Cloud, Zach.
You know when you go back home and no one remembers you because they've all been replaced by employees of a company?
Yes.
Classic. Yeah, it's a nice hazy IPA. It's out of Chicago.
Actually, this one rules. Sometimes I'm really underimpressed by hazies.
In general, for me.
Yeah. I got it because of the name. Let's be honest.
Hazies are expensive to make, and not many breweries can afford to have all of the high quality hops needed to bring the flavor out.
Is that right?
It is right. I used to work for a lot of breweries, and that's just one of the things. To make a proper hazy, it requires a lot of super dank, big, beautiful hops.
Well, I like it.
We do. But yeah, I didn't play the demo, and I kind of wish I had because there's 0 things that track over from the demo.
No. Yeah. In fact, what happens is the last shot is Sephiroth walking away.
Yeah.
And
he's always either walking through fire or walking away.
And then he walks away from you. And then it's just like, you can play the rest when this is out. And I'm just like, all right. Could have just shown me the rest of this too, because there was still more to be seen.
There's a little bit more of Nibelheim at the end.
And it just skips me right to that.
Which kind of ruins the pacing of that story beat, maybe, because you have a month between it.
Well, what wigged me out about the demo too is that Cloud is immediately in calm talking about it. That's where the game starts out. There's no like, hey, remember last time what happened and what's going on? Nope. This is what your friends are up to now.
That's what these clowns are doing. So for this podcast, I figured if we were to discuss every boss in combat, that would be incredibly tedious and boring. I don't want to do that. Even enemies, we will call out if there's a cool enemy that we thought shined or unique encounters. But generally, this is going to be kind of a combat overview. We can talk about the individual characters as we get to them. But yeah, it's an action RPG. You encounter enemies in the world map. You can choose to initiate the battle, which will give you like a little jump on your ATB. Active time battle. The character you're playing as, your ATB meter goes up faster than the other ones that you're not controlling,
which sucks.
But it is. I mean,
it is what it is.
It's a way to keep it balanced because whatever character you're playing as is going to have the upper hand, do more damage. What are your thoughts on the combat system?
I actually like it. At first in Remake, I was not a fan, and I remember telling you that, but I think I just wasn't clicking. Like there's a certain way that it wants you to play, and that is constantly switching between characters.
Yes.
When some of the times I just wanted to be one character, That's not really how this gameplay works at all. Because if you do that, you're bound to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to be Barrett for a while. Well, sometimes you can't be Barrett. Barrett's not unconscious, but Barrett is he's drawing aggro because every character you play as usually draws aggro, unless you have the materia that keeps him away.
Which is also why you switch between characters so much, because if I'm playing a character that's hurt, I draw the aggro, jump over, draw the aggro. So essentially you're kind of like dragging enemies around the map.
Especially when it's like that crazy Leviathan in the labs in Remake.
Fuck the labs.
Behemoth.
Are you talking about the in Remake or Rebirth?
Remake.
Okay.
The Behemoth down there. Remember him?
In the Shinra labs?
In the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Or like the underground. Like the old labs, the shut down ones.
That where you're playing as Barrett.
No, it's when you can go back to it.
Okay.
See, how can you keep all this straight? There's so much stuff that happens.
There's a lot that happens.
Come on.
Yeah, it's largely like Remake, though. I mean, your character's going to have a straightforward attack. Each character has a unique ability that is going to give them a little bit more speciality.
Yeah.
And besides that, you equip you have materia. You can. There's a much bigger emphasis on blocking in Rebirth, which is really great.
Yes.
After some back when I played Remake, that was when
how you had to equip a materia just to block.
I've played, a lot more Souls-like since then, and I need combat to challenge me, and I need it to be about timing and memorizing patterns, and I find a lot more joy. Even going to Hollow Knight or any game that requires twitchy, fast combat.
Sure,
I'm addicted.
Yeah.
And so I'm super happy that now, like, if you do a perfect block, completely negates damage. And that just comes down to timing. And that's why Cloud is always just loaded up with ATBs, like, block, I forget the certain materials. Anything to do with, like, adding the window of block.
Isn't it just called ATB block?
There's ATB stagger, there's a few. I forget the names, but anything that is... that increases the effectiveness of blocking is something that I gravitate towards. Yeah, it's the pressure and stagger system returns.
Which I found worked a lot better in this one than it did in the first one.
Yeah.
It's a little more fluid. It's a little less cryptic.
I think maybe the system clicked with you more this time.
That's probably right.
Because I was pressure and staggering like a motherfucker in Remake.
I mean... With this one, I was paying more attention to it. I was maybe assessing more than I ever have, and maybe...
I feel like you have to.
Well, you have to assess. Otherwise, you don't know how to quickly get through it. Because, items are a little more sparse in this game, too, at least at the beginning. So, and they cost a decent amount of gil.
I don't think that I bought almost any items ever.
I don't think I really had to do much.
If you're doing exploration, you don't need to. I usually just had enough gil for anything I wanted without having to think about it.
Yeah. Weapons, whatever.
Just load it up.
Yeah.
And that's why when that person ratted me out as a terrorist and they're like, here's 5,000 gil, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with that?
In Junon?
Yeah. I'm like, What? Thanks, Mayor.
Here's your cut. What do you mean?
Get out of here.
I could have given that to you.
Something great, though, is I think every character has abilities that allow them to do elemental damage.
Oh, thank fuck. Do you know how many times in Remake I showed up, fought a boss, and they're like, they're weak to lightning. I'm like, well, I don't have any of that.
And there's not like a restart the battle, but let me go into my menu first. So, I guess that would be a way to do it, but no, it's very frustrating if you're not prepared beforehand. Right. It's like what they used to do back in the day where you're penalized for not having a strategy guide.
Well, if you usually, because Remake basically consists of like several mini dungeons that lead up to a boss. If you pay attention, the materia that you find scattered throughout will tell you what you need in order to fight that boss.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it, you're screwed, and you better hope there's a save point right before it.
If you find a bunch of softs, you know that the boss will do petrify.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if it like sometimes I would come across like Maiden's Kiss, and I'd just be like, all right, frog person.
Yeah. One of the cooler status effects.
It's actually really funny in this game.
It's endearing.
Yeah.
Although Cloud as a Moogle was my favorite. It's I think one of the happiest moments you see Cloud. When
He loved being a Moogle.
Dude, when he flies away and he goes, Kupo. I'm like, damn, that's the happiest Cloud's ever been, I think.
All the Moogles were kind of like down to fuck.
They
were down to fuck Cloud.
I think it's dirty, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Those like, Moogles, what do you think they do all day?
It's like Planet Earth, like, in this den of Moogles, 2,000 will get together and roll around in one big orgy.
Oh, God.
It's like snakes.
Great.
It's just this big white mound of fur. It's like a Squishmallow den at Target.
It's just Kupo, 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 Kupo. When you finally do all of like the mushroom houses, and then Cloud gets to do all that, I was just like, this is insane. My wife,
this is insane.
Jordan walks in and she's like, what is going on? I'm like, Cloud's a Moogle.
Dude, there's a point in all video games these days as a 35-year-old man where
you're kind of embarrassed, but not.
Where I'm like in the middle of this thing.
Yeah.
And if my coworkers or if some of my good friends even, if they were to come over and they saw me just trying to push Moogles into a little home, I would be mortified. I would be absolutely embarrassed. And more lately, I am questioning my life.
Why?
And because why would I spend 10 minutes at a Kupo house? But I do. I'm still there.
But here's the thing: are you having?
Because Cloud wants to go to the orgy. I understand.
Well, are you having fun? That's the biggest question.
Moments. Mostly, 95% of this game was fun, but the Moogle houses were one where I was like, there's a lot of busy work. And I like the music is cool. I like the design of like the world, but that's a Kingdom Hearts mini game right there.
Boy, howdy is it.
Boy, howdy. Weapons, materia, and equipment. The weapons function kind of similarly to like they did in Remake. You equip a weapon, it has unique ability. You need to use that ability enough while you have that weapon equipped, and then you can carry that ability to your other weapons. I like that system a lot.
I did too. I do kind of miss that the weapons themselves could be upgraded.
Mm-hmm. They continue getting new.
They do, but that's only if you use it enough, and then it auto essentially scales at auto levels.
Yeah, like you go back to the Buster Sword, and all of a sudden it's got another like attack plus 10 or something on it.
And you didn't even realize that you had that.
Yeah, periodically through the game, I would at the end of a chapter just go through all the weapons and just re-upgrade them so then I could see what they would look like. Mostly though, I like that system quite a bit. I think 9 did that as well, where there's like abilities associated with equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really cool way to implement making equipment something that is not only a stat thing, but also it affects gameplay. I like that aspect.
like bug killer, man killer, like stuff like that. Where if you wore the right hat,
you had it and you had to invest enough of your AP or whatever GP.
You just had to AP. You just had to earn it by doing battles.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I like that system.
I do too.
That's encouraging multiple. Encouraging the systems, and
I do like the fact that equipping something bad for a little while, if you can just power through it, might give you something really excellent to use with a better thing.
And it also teaches you to try other things, because whenever you get to like I think it's the Rune Saber or something, I was like, what if Cloud was a magic person?
I'm just like, no. I'm
like, I'm going to spam that attack 10 times in that first battle. I'm going to hold off.
Yep.
And then we'll see what happens. But one other thing that I think is just brilliant with this combat system is synergy.
Yes. The synergy attacks.
What is synergy, Dylan?
Synergy in this game is a type of energy that builds up that you can use to unleash devastating attacks between two attacks or other. Yeah, how would you describe that?
It is a unique ability between two characters where, you know, Barrett and Aerith, they have one where Aerith puts on a set of sunglasses like Barrett, and they both do some like cool move together. Or there's one where Cloud and Tifa go back to back, and they do a big series of attacks. Anything with Kate Sith, if you haven't gone to YouTube and just watched the Kate Sith ones,
I haven't seen all of them.
They're great, dude. Because essentially everybody wants to jump on that Moogle at some point. Cloud jumps forward with the Moogle, and then he drop kicks the Moogle into the enemies.
Oh, man. I'm going to look those up when I get back home.
Dude, Kate says should have been the toughest character to implement, and they're like, no, he's the most fun character to implement.
He's my favorite party member, spoiler alert.
But yeah, synergy, this is also why when you use a unique ability on a character, they get 1 bar of their synergy.
Yep.
And then that's why you switch between characters so much to build up your synergy to use these attacks, which they don't cost ATB after you have those synergies built up, like those little synergy bars, whatever they're called.
Well, let me put this out there. I think that this works so well because switching between these characters, you kind of get like a zen. Did you experience that?
It's like a flow state.
There's a huge flow, and you can make those battles really easy for yourself. Even bosses I heard were hard. Mm-hmm. There were some times where I was so clicked in that I was just like, I didn't experience that at all.
Yeah, generally not too difficult. Mostly a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that this game is technically easier than Remake.
Largely, I only died a handful of times on the main story. Synergy abilities with a yellow arrow symbol will raise the limit levels of those 2 characters by 1. Mm-hmm. This is the only way you're going to see limit level 2 or limit level 3 once you unlock it. Limit breaks, you know what those are. They're cool, they're fine. Change party members, swap on the go. 3 preset parties available to swap between battles. And yes, the menu changes with the time of day. So like when you pull up the menu, I put that down. We have another beer, which was one we noticed at the liquor store when we were shopping for beers that might be appropriate for this. This is from Three Floyds Brewing.
Yeah.
And the name of the beer is Return of the Ancients, which, you know, I might not have bought this beer if it wasn't for that. I'm going to go ahead and say that I wouldn't.
It's a little edgelord looking.
Oh, Three Floyds is edgelord looking.
I know.
That looks like Geen Attack on there a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It says it's not normal.
It's like
This is an edgy beer.
It's like, okay, Tyler, we get it. You like MCR, dude. It's cool.
It's like, I'm not normal, Mom. Whatever, do your homework.
Did you know he likes comic books too? Irish style red ale. Yeah, this is from Munster, Indiana.
Yeah.
A heavy dose of new and old world hops showcase notes of citrus, stone, and tropical fruits backed by a firm malt body. The king is dead. Long live the king.
Okay.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers. To Nomura Sensei.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't really like red ales.
I think this is a particularly dark red ale. Do you get that?
Yeah, it's pretty robust.
I enjoy this.
It's drinkable. I think it is a whole lot of pretty good. You know, Indeed Brewing's got their rooftop open again.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that'd be a fun spot to go.
Absolutely. We're going to have to.
We're going to have to. Little tips and tricks for FF7 Rebirth. The play clock stops from inactivity. If you're seeing that you played I played, I think, 103 hours in this game. And if I hit pause, the play clock stops.
Smart.
Which, it's just good to know. Because sometimes I'll leave a play clock going, or it'll even go into rest mode, and it's still calculating the background.
I fell asleep once playing this, so.
If you are away for 3 minutes, the playtime is also halted, so.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. I also didn't know that.
The touchpad checks enemy stats that you already have?
Yeah, I know, right?
Fuck off.
The number of times
I had to reassess.
Well, also, I do an assess, and then I'm in the middle of attacking with somebody, and I'm hitting a button, and I skip the assess that I already programmed.
It was as easy as the touchpad?
The touchpad will bring.
I thought I did that. I tried everything.
I was very upset. I didn't find this out until 103 hours in.
Maybe for the more difficult run, I'll do that. I will play this again one day, which says a lot about the game.
Also, there is a button in the menu that lets you pull up all of the party members' materia at one screen to move between them.
What?
I didn't know that one either.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know that the original PS1 game had that, and I found that when I was going through the menus, just kind of looking through my 103 hours for this. Yeah, we talked about FF7 Remake. We talked about the development. We talked about all the stuff that matters beforehand, And now we're going to get into the story of FF7 Rebirth. Chapter 1, Fall of a Hero. It's interesting that they put chapters for these because sometimes a chapter is an hour and a half and sometimes it's 10 hours.
Yeah. It seems arbitrary.
I think it's mostly for a replay purpose. And I think that chapters might all be of a similar length if you skip the exploration.
That seems
Maybe.
seems fair.
It seems ish, a lot closer. We're going to save the Zack interludes for later. We'll talk about it all in once because just talking about Zack 1 minute at a time never works.
You and I were but I will say, you and I were texting about these things.
Yeah.
And I was getting so frustrated and annoyed.
Big time.
And at the end of this, it still doesn't make any sense until I saw a few charts.
Yeah. Even when you comprehend what's happening, it's dumb.
It's not told well.
Well, I don't want to say dumb. I don't want to offend people.
It's dumb. I'll say it.
It's boring.
Certainly boring.
It's desperate. It's reaching. It's trying to be smart. It's a lot of things.
It's mostly walking simulator.
Well, it's not fun. And Zack is
the Boba Fett of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, he's dude. What if Cloud had black hair? That's so cool. But he's dead. Oh, well, we'll do a prequel.
I bet Zack was really cool before he.
They want more though. We need more Zack.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, those sections. I wish you could skip them.
You can when you do a replay.
Really?
That's one of the first options you unlock at the end of the game is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, skip Zack interludes.
Oh, my God. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah. Cloud's combat is one of the first things we're introduced to. He has the operator mode and the Punisher mode.
Fantastic system.
I think it's important, too, that they really hit Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the character you play as the most.
He's the one that most people want to play as.
You're able after the game too to have any 3-member parties without Cloud too for the entire game. Mm-hmm. So you still run around as Cloud, and then the battle starts, and you just switch over to the other party members. But yeah, Cloud operates.
I do like the sections where you get to play as just two of the guys hanging out, like the other party members.
Yeah,
I love when Barrett and Red 13 have to team up. In that
Yo,
underground
why
cabin.
me?
Yeah.
You know I can't run up there. Fuck.
I thought that was really interesting because it really forces you to get to know the other characters.
Yeah.
Because if you're sticking to one, you're doing it all wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the part I liked.
And they make all of the characters play, fairly differently. And they all have their own nuances. For the life of me, I still don't understand Aerith or Cait Sith.
Oh, I was good with Cait Sith.
Yeah, I watched some YouTube videos, like a 20-minute combat breakdown of Cait Sith, and he's like the most OP character when you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he has we'll talk about Cait Sith later. Operator mode, though, is normal mode for Cloud. Mm-hmm.
Fast attacks.
Any combo can be quickly ended by holding square. If you dodge and then hold attack, Cloud jumps into the air, which is important for some enemies that do ground-based attacks. You can get Cloud in the air and just keep hitting attack, and he'll stay in the air. Mm-hmm. So transitioning up into the air is something I didn't understand until I read into it.
Oh, I never did it.
Yeah, it's for some of the challenge battles at the end, Alexander being one of them, you would get destroyed.
I got Alexander, though.
Not the hard version.
No.
Yeah. Did you do Gilgamesh?
I didn't want to do any of the rest of those games.
You're missing out on Gilgamesh. The rest of them,
Is he a summon?
He's his own story thing at the end. Punisher mode, though, and if you in operator mode, if you dodge in that while enemies are near, you can get iframes as well. Also, when you dodge and then attack, you can do like long range attacks. You shoot things at the enemies with Cloud. Good to know. Punisher mode, though, is when you press triangle to switch to the slow moving mode, and no dodge, but blocking results in auto counters. It's a much more powerful. It's like high risk, high reward. He has a few abilities. I use triple slash a lot. I thought that was a great way to move around the battlefield.
It's a good opener, especially if you have a bunch of smaller enemies.
Yeah. Gets them all kind of stunned for a second.
And you don't deflect off of them. So it's just really good crowd control.
Yeah. Focus thrust, I used a lot.
I didn't use that one too much.
Good for staggering.
I used a bunch of the long range one. What is it called?
I forget.
Clem
Hazard?
Not Cleve. Clem Hazard?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
I used to listen to Watch Out for Fireballs in like 2010 with their Final Fantasy VII episode. And Gary said Clem sounds like a really dirty word for some reason. And now I always hear Clem is like, makes me think of something nasty.
Is it
it's like
Clem or it's Clem Hazard?
It's like the cloaca of a Moogle.
Oh boy, do they have those?
It's furry.
Well, generally, I mean, a platypus has a cloaca. That's probably the only one.
Speaking of cloacas,
Chocobos.
you also play as Sephiroth briefly.
Wow.
He has aura charge. Hitting enemies fills up his aura charge. Once filled, he can use Pierce or other finishers as a follow-up to a combo or ability. And retaliation, instead of a block button, pressing the R1 button makes Sephiroth switch to retaliation stance, where you can then just press the square button before a physical attack hits to parry it.
They didn't teach you any of this in there, though.
Yeah, they did.
I wasn't paying attention.
What? Are you saying that in the first 5 minutes of a game when you've had 20 tutorials thrown at you already, you don't want to read another tutorial that pops up?
Oh, yeah, I'm really bad about shit like that.
I feel like Chadley is the best implementation of tutorializing unique characters, because they actually just have like Kate Sith 1, Yuffie 1, or whatever. So it shows like Yuffie can do this here, and then the next battle she can do this there.
And then you get rewards for completing those. So it encourages you to. I like that implementation.
Yeah.
And I learned how to use every character, but you play as Sephiroth a total of
fucking nothing.
One time?
One boss battle, and I think a couple other battles. And I made sure to use Sephiroth every moment of those, and I still... But with the end game, some of the challenge mode stuff is Zack, Cloud, and Sephiroth as a team.
I just didn't care at that point. I had my time with the game, and at 97 hours, I was done.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And all that the Reddit is for FF7 is 10 hours to beat the bonds of friendship. I'm like, no. Nope.
No.
I will not.
If that's your version of fun, I encourage.
What are your thoughts on Nibelheim in Chapter 1?
I thought they completely missed the tone.
Okay.
When you hear that story, I did not this time read it as like a horror story, which is what it's supposed to be.
Dude, it is such a horror story in the first game.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All the tones, the environments. This kind of treats it as like a happy jaunt.
I think it might have worked better with just like largely cutscenes.
I would have watched a mini movie if they wanted me to, but
yeah, it could.
I didn't feel like playing it because I knew it was going to be so inconsequential.
I understand the vehicle as a prologue or like an opening to a game, introduce your characters to the world. My first thought as soon as Nibelheim started was, this looks bad.
Yes.
And I was pretty worked up about it.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Because I was going through the menus and I'd go into, because there's like graphics or performance or fidelity or something like that.
Performance or graphics. What is it?
Yeah.
I don't think it was fidelity, but
and
whatever.
I'm always frame rate. I will always take frame rate over.
I did looks.
Because if if things feel jumpy, it just ruins everything.
Yeah.
But some of that stuff doesn't load in. There are assets that
Textures don't load in.
that don't belong there. And I know that
Which is weird because the rest of the game actually does that pretty well.
it does. And I don't know if they wanted to rush the demo to completion.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
But I remember being pretty worried. And I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, this is a much bigger game than a remake. There's going to be a lot of open world sections. Maybe the engine required some tweaks. It's all PS5. Maybe they just couldn't do it.
There was something wrong, something missing from the way they were moving around and acting.
Okay.
Do you remember how menacing it was, even in Advent Children, to see Sephiroth in the flames?
I'm so numb to that now.
But they could have really done something with it. It's a remake. You could do something with it. I guess it's don't fix what isn't broken, but why when I saw it this time, I was just like, I don't care. I just didn't even care. I didn't even have an emotional connection to any of this.
I think the animations for most of the game, I think, are great.
Sure.
I think the problem is the story wasn't engaging in Chapter 1. It's just, I don't know.
They extended out something that was a fun little jaunt or tale into being, what was it, like an hour and a half?
Yeah. Oh, man. And, okay, Nibelheim, you're introduced to the city, and that's fine. You're running around, oh, here, eat eight of my famous hot dogs. Sure, whatever, lady. And
would you describe this as the Kingdom Hearts 2 playing as Roxas?
In a bad way. Or,
playing Roxas sucks.
This is better than Roxas, but it is the same. Yeah, it's. I just hate that you don't feel any progression because all of it is taken away.
Now, we have to preface this with the fact that one of those Zack side stories is happening. That's the first thing that happens in the game, and then you jump into Nibelheim.
Yeah. Yep.
That is not good structure.
No, all of the Zack stuff is bad. It takes you out of the narrative thrust of the story. It doesn't fit in anywhere.
It also makes you very confused.
It doesn't fit in. It doesn't align. And only, I think, one or two moments do they intersect a little bit. Because there's at one point, Zack touches Aerith, and then she feels it in fucking Geeland. But mostly, it's just, I think that they needed it to get to the point at the end. And so they bent the story around it. And it does, I don't know, it's never worked.
Well, they do this in media res Lost thing.
Yeah.
It basically felt like an episode of Lost. I said, what is this like? I described it as what, like JJ's mystery box?
That's what he calls it. Oh, that you're referring it to like that.
That's what this is.
Yeah. Except I usually like JJ's mystery box.
Why, though?
Well, dude, Lost Season 1 is great.
Yeah, but it doesn't work at the end.
Well, JJ never cares about where the mystery box. He never wants it to get opened. He doesn't plan for Act 3.
That's stupid.
I agree, but you'll get some really good Act 1. Yeah, Nibelheim. Cloud can see his mom. He goes into Tifa's house, which feels a lot more invasive in Rebirth.
Oh yeah.
In the original, she's like, "Oh, you went in my room?" I'm like, yeah. It doesn't. You can feel her disdain. She's like, "What? You went into my closet?"
Well, it's funny because in any RPG, you can just go wherever you kind of want. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
But not questioning. It's like when Link breaks a bunch of pots in a person's house. It's just like, bro, they probably paid money for those pots.
Dude, all they have in this house is one bed, a table, and 8 pots. And you just destroyed half of their home.
And also, they were keeping their money in that.
They have nowhere now. Way to go, Link.
They have no more rupees. They can't feed their new baby.
Son of a bitch. Yeah. Tifa, they go full cowgirl, which I appreciate.
That's fine.
Yep. When Cloud and Tifa are younger, they do age them down a little bit. They already patched in one part. Oh, wait, no, they did some remake patches right before Rebirth came out. The end of Remake, Aerith turns around and looks at the sky and says, I miss the steel sky. And then they patched in a new line right when Rebirth came out, was the sky, it scares me. So it's like she sees the cloud ripped up.
Oh, the sky torn up?
Which is weird going back into an old game. It's like, all right, George Lucas.
That is very special edition.
Yeah. The game is what it is. They also like went back into the flashbacks of Nibelheim in Remake where Tifa had more cleavage, and they went in and they added her shirt.
Fair.
I'm like, sure.
That's fair. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a big fat whatever from me.
It's a video game.
It's also like, whatever. If you're getting horny off of video game characters, I don't know what to tell you.
Nibelheim is mostly pretty straightforward. You go up to the Shinra facility. There's a really stupid mechanic that happens a lot where you're going to have to start moving boxes.
The vacuums.
And vacuums. And they're connected by wires. You have to push them.
You have to make sure the line doesn't get caught.
This is so vestigial of RPGs from back in the day where they like require. You couldn't just have 5 hallways that somehow intersect. You need to move this boulder to get up there.
Then go back down and move around. Yeah.
I feel like we need to shake off that evolution. It's like an evolutionary hangover, which we're past. We don't need bullshit things to keep us busy in every dungeon.
Well, what's really fun is like even playing, like, I have touched the newest, well, not the newest God of War, the 2018 God of War, and the puzzles in that are damn fun because usually it involves throwing something from where you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a lot of traversal to get it all done. They know that the player wants to keep moving. Mm-hmm. You can still be clever with those puzzles. You just have to. It's not a cleanup job. You're not cleaning. You know, you're not cleaning.
Well, and cleaning isn't the issue. It sucks.
Well, I like it in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, it's mostly tedious. I'm doing something, and you're like, oh, right, maybe if we move this box, grab it, push it. It's not fun.
No.
There's bridge collapses. We see yellow ledges, which people like to talk about on the internet.
I like talking about yellow ledges.
Tell me about them, Dylan.
They're in everything.
Does it bother you, though? At least in God of War, it's baked into the story where
it's a path.
Kratos' wife was going ahead of them, knowing the path they would take, and painting it.
That part, that is fine. It's like when it comes to stuff like Uncharted, stuff that I don't feel like has aged particularly well, you start to wonder a few things, especially when you have something like Breath of the Wild where everything is technically climbable, but you have a stamina meter. That's what I think, because it's all about gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And it's all about creating pathways. And I know that in this game in particular, in a lot of these high fidelity graphical games, a lot of those segments are used to cut in loading, much like when you squeeze between two. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the game has to load this in.
Way more egregious in Remake, still bad in Rebirth, but way worse in Remake.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least in Rebirth, I was wondering what was around each corner, and I really cared. I don't know.
It's elevators in Mass Effect. But at least they made them funny, because the characters would say something interesting. I don't mind it as long as Garrus and Talia are talking about some bullshit.
Well, when you're young and you have all the time in the world, these things don't hit you, really.
But then eventually you're 35 and you spent 10 minutes in Moogle Land.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm so glad no one's here to watch me play this right
Some of them shoot bubbles. Some of them throw bombs. There were times where I got to one balloon and I was just like, I swear to God, if that thing kills me, I'm going to throw this thing at the wall. Also, why are they attacking you? They don't want to work? But then you get them to work and they're fine with it?
These little mischievous Moogles, they just got to be...
And now, wait a minute. Are they all babies? Is it implied that they're like new Mughals?
I don't know the age of a Mughal.
What's the hierarchy of the Mughal
They
world?
could be 80, but still be toddlers, according to Mughal time.
So it's a Grogu.
I don't know. They only mate once every 500 years at MuggleCon, where they get in one giant ball.
Yeah.
It's just this big white mass.
It's hot. I can't wait till the next one.
They got kicked out of a hotel once because of the mess they made.
I watched this newscast once of a furry convention.
Oh, I've seen it.
You've seen that one?
Yeah, they destroyed that hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they all had to talk. They were interviewing the furries outside. It was my favorite thing in the world.
There's a really good internet historian on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Send it to me.
It's very funny.
Please send it to me.
Yeah, the battles are not consequential in Chapter 1. They don't mean anything.
The items you collect can only be used for this segment.
You get to see Shinra Manor, which in the original game is one of the coolest locations. In this, it's
been reduced.
It's so much less cool. Because it just becomes
Remember all the floors and like the little things you could do in it? Like it was kind of a haunted mansion.
Instead, here's one floor and then
an elevator.
Here's a bunch of bullshit building like lab stuff. But Sephiroth disappears. Well, when you go up to the...
I mean, do we have to explain the plot of Final Fantasy VII here?
You go up to the reactor, Jenova. Jenova's Sephiroth's mom. He feels weird about it, so then he goes into Shinra Manor to the basement.
But not his mom. He calls Jenova his mom, but she's...
Lucretia's his mom.
Exactly. She's kind of this malevolent, Lovecraftian thing from outer space.
The Calamity.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you got to have a cool word.
It does sound cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like tarnished.
Yeah.
Yep.
Calamity Ganon.
Real original Ganon. Someone was watching Advent Children before they wrote Legend of Zelda.
Oof.
All of Breath of the Wild is just derivative of Advent Children.
Yeah.
Kadaj.
Kadaj is there.
Think about it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Sephiroth is reading history books, describes how an ancient life form was extracted from rocks long ago and was named Jenova. I'm into that weird science shit.
Look, here's the part where I kind of diverge now. Is because when I see it and they're all little blocky characters, there's something about the storytelling in that where I can take that a little more seriously. But when like adult men are like discussing it and they all look kind of realistic or like anime realistic.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm like, oh, shut up. Sephiroth, you never once questioned this until now.
Well, if you ever played the mobile game for phones, you'd know Sephiroth and Glenn Lodblock had a lot of talks about this.
Wow.
Sephiroth was raised to be very mean, and he questioned it at some points, and Glenn tried to teach him, but Glenn couldn't stop him.
Oh, that's a great story.
Bet I just changed your mind, huh?
Yeah, that rules.
No, I think Sephiroth is younger than you think he is, too, just because he's got that gray hair.
How old is he in this?
I forget.
He's like
I'm
20,
probably
20.
older. I'm probably older than Sephiroth.
Oh,
right
we're
now.
old. We're definitely older than Sephiroth.
His hair is 30 years old.
He's. I mean, it should be thinning by then.
Yeah. Sephiroth pees on his own hair. It's that long.
Oh yeah, that's the remedy.
I don't know. It's just
You're gonna have to tell me because it's going quick. I'm gonna need to buy a hat.
he finds out. Well, he might have just known like his mother is referred to as Jenova by some people, but to actually see it on a tank in a Shinra reactor.
Larger question.
Okay.
Why would Shinra then send him there?
I don't know.
That is the dumbest shit on the face of the planet. They know that Jenova's there. Do you think that was like a Hojo thing where Hojo might have convinced them to send him in there?
If you want to retcon it into a way that makes sense, do a Rogue One, sure. Hojo
wanted him to go.
Hojo is a big old thing of flex tape you slap on any problem in the Final Fantasy universe.
It kind of works in that realm.
Yeah.
But
Hojo's crazy enough to think that Red 13 and Aerith could crossbreed.
If you killed and buried your friend's mom and then had them as detectives investigate the area around it.
But Hojo also wants Sephiroth to go crazy and to do weird shit to test Jenova's cells. So maybe he did.
It's possible.
Yeah. But he then goes down in the basement and he finds out that he has Jenova cells, which were found from a rock, some space creature. I'm into all that. If this is a B science movie, it's like The Thing.
It's cool.
It's The Thing.
I'm into it as well.
But he's mad, and he goes big mad and burns the village down.
Kind of, I didn't really believe the turn this time around. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
They show him pacing in the study for a little while.
It's amazing what the music does in the first game, because they can just show that blocky figure walking back to forth, and then they like do the dissolves to where he's in different spots. Works. Just he's standing over here and he's standing over there. And then he does that like that looks back and cackle motion.
Yeah.
and then Cloud does thoughtful, leans forward.
Cloud's just like, he's going nuts.
I'm really worried about this guy.
I just didn't believe it this round. It didn't hit me. I'm like,
no,
he wouldn't just suddenly. Is it because he's so close to the actual Jenova that he's actually going like?
If you play the previous 4 games in the series, you know Sephiroth had a tumultuous time in Soldier. His childhood was tortured at best. I agree, though. The turn didn't work for me. It's also, I just know what's going to happen and I expect it to happen. So I'm not really, there's no, I'm on the edge of my seat, which is the flashback doesn't work for me because it's before the events of Remake. After Remake, it's more exciting because anything can happen.
So I was also thinking that this was also an opportunity to give Sephiroth a lot more emotion before he becomes kind of emotionless.
Yeah.
Like, instead of this like omnipotent kind of bad guy who hangs out and tortures people from afar and taunts them, why not see him like cry or like get really, really fucking angry? Like that could have really brought out what I wanted from this, because they knew in the blocky polygons they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But this time they could have, and they just chose to make him cool.
Yeah. Which doesn't work. I need him to be unhinged.
Yeah.
I also, the city burning doesn't work for me when I have to use the left and right triggers to crawl forward. Well, I think it's the mayor. There's always a mayor. The mayor, though, he's like, he has a gun pointed at Sephiroth. He's like, don't come any closer. Don't. I'm warning you. I'm like, dude, he already set the village on fire. Just shoot. You wouldn't kill him regardless, probably, but just shoot.
He could block it with his sword. And
if not, why did you go and point a gun at Sephiroth if you're not going to shoot it?
If someone was burning my house down, I probably would shoot them if I had a gun.
I wouldn't hesitate.
Yeah.
Maybe one threat from a distance, but if they start walking towards me with an 8-foot sword,
it's 11 feet long.
Well, even longer.
How did I know that?
Because you love Sephiroth.
It's the Masamune.
Dude, your Sephiroth tattoo is crazy. That full back of him walking through the fire.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Dude.
Gets me laid.
Yeah, I got a tattoo. What's that?
It's my hero.
He found out about his mom.
He represents the Freudian concept of motherhood.
Yeah, his dad was actually like Hojo, and his mom was this lady named Lucretia.
And it was kind of a rape, man. Isn't that rad?
Do you like it? Fuck. Yeah. Cloud rushes up to the top of the reactor. Well, actually, Sephiroth also at this point thinks he's an ancient and proclaims Jenova was an ancient. He believes she was a steward of the planet. This is all incorrect. You go up to the reactor. Tifa is grieving over her father's dead body. Confronted by Sephiroth, he slashes her. And then Cloud consoles Tifa and prepares to confront Sephiroth. Then he doesn't remember. Now, we know in PS1, Sephiroth stabs him. He lifts Sephiroth's sword up and tips him over.
Mm-hmm. And then Cloud falls in as well.
Cloud is also level 2.
Yeah.
He's not doing that.
Yeah.
But we'll buy it. They also cut away, though, with the memory in Rebirth. So I think they're saving it for something else. Was it in addition?
They're probably going to show something different happened this time around.
There's also an anime of this.
I saw it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I forget what it's called.
It's called Crisis something.
On the Way to a Boner.
On the Way to... Yeah. I saw it.
Episode Denzel.
I saw it on, I think it was on Crunchyroll for a while back in the day.
Crunchyroll.
When I first got a computer when I was like 16, and I had to see it.
Needed to.
Yeah. And it kind of just shows, honestly, that might be the reason a lot of people like Zach. He was really good in that. There's not a lot of Cloud happening in that anime.
We know as an audience during this sequence that Cloud is not doing anything that he says he is. Mm-hmm. It's largely Zach, and there is a soldier wearing a soldier uniform, like a MP or whatever they're called, grunt uniform, and that's actually Cloud. So he was there to comfort Tifa at the end, but that's why all their memories are fucked up and different. Yeah. And then they go to the modern times, modern day, and they're in Nibelheim. The party splits up. Aerith and Tifa have a moment with just the two of them, and they discuss Cloud's disappearance for 5 years, and that Tifa's like, I don't even think he was in Nibelheim.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now.
And then Tifa and Cloud talk on the roof, and Cloud is shown a vision of Sephiroth, who's like, Tifa just can't be here if I killed her. And then Cloud's like, yeah.
That's right. I'll believe this phantom.
Cloud is
dumb.
He's pretty dumb. Dude, if I was going crazy and I had visions of you when you weren't there and you just said some bullshit and I just turned to my friends like, you have to know you're seeing something crazy.
Yeah.
And if Cloud can't even register that Sephiroth's there, but sure, he has Cloud.
If I were seeing hallucinations, I would tell my friends or ask them, hey, do you see that?
That's all you got to do, right? That's all Cloud has to do.
Yeah.
But
he's also being puppeteered a little bit at the same time.
Because he has Jenova cells in him.
Yeah. Because he fell into the reactor.
And he was injected when he went back, taken from Nibelheim with Zach, put in those tubes for
God knows
4 years,
something like that.
He was in there for a long time, and so he's got the Mako in his eyes that soldiers have, but he is suffering a break from reality, and that's before the multiverse. He was just like a crazy person, which I think works really well in the first game.
Yeah.
It's a real problem some people have, but I
like it as a metaphor for mental illness.
I mostly like how they portray it in Rebirth as well. I wish that the party members would respond to it a little bit.
My friends would be like, oh, well, what the fuck's up with that? Well, if it keeps going on, like if it happens once, okay. But if it happens consecutively, consistently and consecutively.
And is it one of those things you don't wake a sleepwalker? Like, are they afraid that if you tell Cloud, like, dude, you never went to Disney World. You've been talking about how you went to Disney World.
Well, it's funny. There's no like smart person in the group aside from maybe Aerith.
Aerith and Red 13 are the only ones off in like the side, like, yo, this is fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
So this, like, you saw the future.
And Barrett's like, what do I shoot at? Yuffie's like, can I steal it?
Yuffie and Barrett are their relationship I adore. Yeah, modern day, she shows you her scar and she says Zangan saved her, and Cloud cannot say where he's been. And we're not going to talk about chapter 2 on this episode. We're going to come back for a part 2 at another time, and we can get through, I think, a huge chunk of that. This might be a 3-parter. It'll probably be a 3-parter. We'll see how it goes.
We'll do a tour next time.
As long as it's just fun. And yeah, so
Brad, I got to say, this is an intense outline.
It's less intense than you think. A lot of it is just grabbing things from Wikipedia's or story summaries and kind of putting a little twist on them. But we will be back another time for another episode of Raw Dogs to discuss Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Part 2, which we'll get more into the story and we'll talk about some of the battles.
We're going to finally talk about Zach, and this is where I'm going to have Dylan's rant corner.
It can be Dylan's rant half an hour. It can be 3 corners.
I might have to write my own outline for that, because in order to piece that together, my thoughts in my head about what's wrong with it, even when they tell you that everything that's happening is happening, I can't get into it.
Your ability to retain useless and horrible information blows me away.
But I can't even do it for this.
The fact that you could do the entire lore of Pokemon flawlessly still...
No, I rambled that out.
It keeps me up at night, though. You knew them all.
Well, I played all the games.
But you played this game, and even then you're just like, what the fuck is this stupid shit? I don't like this. Get me back to Kate Sith. He was making me laugh.
Should we get a podcast? Should we do like a podcast tattoo, but where it's each a different version of the dog?
No.
Really? Why not?
Because I don't want to get Stamp.
You could be Beagle Stamp.
No, I'd get
Pug Stamp.
I don't. Man, I don't know. I'll get a tattoo with you, but not that.
Tyler would get Stamp, but he'd go first,
and then we wouldn't get.
Then we wouldn't.
Dude, fuck yeah,
that's fun. I feel like that'd be a lawsuit.
No way. Tyler's too nice.
I know he is.
And that's all we got for you today, everybody. If you've enjoyed this episode, write a review if you can. If you're interested in getting part 2 much sooner, not quite immediately, but within a week, check out patreon.com/hair of the Dogcast. We have a really great community. We have a lot of really cool bonus episodes, like 10 popcorn dogs, 55 doggy, 60 doggies after dark.
Holy hell.
Like 10 Elden dogs. There's a bunch of exclusive stuff. Okami's on there. Final Fantasy 10 parts 4 and 5. Some bonkers stuff.
Get in on Okami.
Get in. Special thanks to executive producers Ryan Christianek, Kip Kipper, Brian Ward, Jordan Hoff, Phil Wright, Phil Cole Delgardno, Bryant Ross, and Kelly Gutowski. And special thanks to all of the other new Patreon members. There's a whole bunch of you lately, and we appreciate it. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth you want us to mention, reach out to us. You might get in before part 2.
Also, if you want to give us any theoreticals, some hypotheticals, what if scenarios?
Anything.
Truly.
The nature of a Moogle orgy.
I would probably
write a fan fiction.
But I would also probably describe a Moogle's penis for you.
Coop-O.
Coop-O.
Oh my God. Horrible. Very lame. We will see all of you next time, but thank you so much, and take care of yourself.
Kisses.
Coop-O. Coop-Os. Hugs and Coop-Os.
Coopses.
Hugs and Coop-Os.
Oh, God.
Wrap around Coop-O.
Perfect. I think they just 69.